Okay, this is Harold's Prog Rock Show part 87, entirely dedicated to the 15 prog rock albums who changed my life. Okay, this is the first one. I started with the whole thing in 1978, and I was 12 years old, and a friend of mine had this album on vinyl, Jean-Michel Jarre, Equinox, and I'm still listening to this album. It is really great. It's one of the classic Jean-Michel Jarre albums. Equinox 78, great stuff, fantastic. In fact, my first prog rock album. Okay, then in 78 I was listening to mono cassette tape recorder, and in 85 I get a ghetto blaster on my birthday, and then I listened to tape with alchemy and cassette tape, Dire Straits in full stereo, and this was for me like heaven on earth. So the double album, the live album from Dire Straits, alchemy in 85, made me a real prog rock lover. And then again, I was listening to an album from a friend, and the album was the Mama album from Genesis. And I really liked the prog rock songs on this album. Of course, Mama, the famous hit single, Home by the Sea, Second Home by the Sea, Just a Job to Do, and Silver Rainbow. Great tracks from this album from Genesis from '83. And this is the Mama album. I like it a lot, and that opened the way to all the other Genesis albums. Of course, also the albums from the Gabriel years like Selling England and The Lamp. Also, in the beginning, I listened to Supertramp Paris, the famous double live album from '79, recorded, and '80 it was released. All classic Supertramp songs are on this album, recorded in Paris, and the album is called Paris, and the most progressive songs are Fool's Overture and Crime of the Century. Great album, a real live classic from Supertramp. Then, from another friend, I listened to a tape, a cassette tape with Misplaced Childhood from Marillion, and that opened up all the other bands like Palace, IQ, Pendragon, 12 Night, all the bands from the 80s when prog rock was popular again after all the classic albums from the 70s. I also get a tape with Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, and I really like this album. And this is, of course, a real classic. And Shine On You, Crazy Diamond, Part 1, Part 2, Have a Cigar, Welcome to the Machine, the title track, Wish You Were Here. It's all great, it's fantastic. And I liked it a lot. Okay, then yes, the first album I listened to was Going for One, and I still think this is the best Yes album from '77, with Awaken, Parallels, and Turn of the Century. Great album, real classic. This is in fact the best prog rock album ever made, in my opinion. Okay, Yes, Going for the One, with Rick Wakeman, Alan White, Chris Squire, John Anderson, and Steve Howe. Great album, real classic. The artwork is done by Hypnosis. It's in fact New York on the cover. Okay, then on the radio, I listened to the hit single Emerson, Lake and Palmer with Peter Gunn, and I really like the Peter Gunn single from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So I listened to the In Concert vinyl album, and many years later to the CD release Works Live. All has been recorded in the Big O in Montreal, the famous Olympic Stadium in '77. Great album. And on Works Live, you also have pictures at an exhibition the 15 minutes version, the live version. Greg Lake, Keith Emerson, and Carl Palmer. Great band. I really like Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. Okay, then we go to UK. UK did the Danger Money album, their second and last studio album, with John Wetton on bass and vocals, Eddie Jobson on keyboards and violin and electric violin, and of course Terry Bozzio on drums. This is a great album. It's one of the albums which is in my all-time top 10 because I like it a lot. It's great. It's fantastic. UK, Danger Money, great stuff. Then we go to Peter Gabriel, also an important album for me, the live album, Plays Live. I'm listening since 87 to that 86 to that live album. It's really great. All classic songs from Peter Gabriel 1, 2, 3 and 4 are on this album. Great stuff. It's in fact the album Security Part 4, which is he touring with. Great stuff. Then of course Steve Hackett. The first album from Steve Hackett I listened to was Spectral Mornings, and I think it's still great stuff from Steve Hackett. Spectral Mornings, recorded in the Netherlands, so that's great. Together with Avoidance of the Acolyte, that are the two best Steve Hackett solo albums. Then the Italian prog rock, also very important for me. I have a lot of Italian prog rock albums in my collection, and if you like Italian prog rock or want to know more about that, you can listen to 2 shows from me, 2 shows where I tell about the most important Italian prog rock albums. Highly recommended. This is the first Italian album I get into, Premiata Forneria Marconi, PFM, the most famous Italian prog rock band, and the album was The World Became the World. It's also released in Italian, and then it's called Isola di Niente. And then the cover is not blue, but green. Okay. Then we have the German krautrock, the German prog rock albums and bands. The first one I listened to was from Eloy, which is influenced by Pink Floyd. And this album, Silent Cries and Mighty Echoes, is my favorite, with influences from Wish You Were Here and Animals from Pink Floyd. Eloy, great band, and the artwork is fantastic. And of course the Dutch prog rock bands. The first one I listened to was Focus, live at the Rainbow, and on this one we have their famous hit single Hocus Pocus and the epic track Eruption. Eruption was on the Moving Waves album, their most successful studio album. But the first album from the 70s Dutch prog rock bands was Focus, live at the Rainbow. Very nice album with good sound quality. Okay, then we have Earth and Fire, also very important for me. The Dutch band with Journey Kaagman and the Good Brothers. And this is an album with lots of mellotron and lots of keyboards, lots of guitar. It's a great album. It's the best album. It's called Song of the Marching Children, Earth and Fire. And the hit single is Storm and Thunder. And it's a great album. And in fact, the mellotron on the album was bought in England from King Crimson, because Journey Kaagman and Chris and Gerard Koets went to England to buy a King Crimson mellotron. So there's a King Crimson mellotron on this album, and it's great. It's in fact the best Dutch prog rock album ever made. Earth and Fire, Song of the Marching Children. Okay, this is my show about the 15 albums, prog rock albums, who changed my life. And I think it's a good show. Okay, give me a like, subscribe to my channel, say something in the comments. Okay, see you next time. Bye.